God does not call you to be your real self. He calls you to be authentic. The definition of authenticity is to be true to oneself despite the environment's pressure to be different. If I were to show you guys my real self, there'd be a lot of things that you would be distasteful with, a lot of things that you would deny, a lot of things you wouldn't like. And that's why oftentimes we go around wearing a mask, not showing off who we truly are, because there are things that we are ashamed of, that we wouldn't want anybody else to see. Things we're holding back, like anger, resentment, sadness, fear, or sometimes even things that we love or people we love. I remember my mom, she used to tell me that she didn't want to go with me certain places, or she would ask me, do you want me to go here with you? I don't want you to feel embarrassed. And I said to her, Mom, no matter where I go, it doesn't change my relation to you. You're always going to be my mother. And I would be proud to be embarrassed by you, because at the end of the day, nobody else has you as a mother besides me. And so I've been gifted this ability to know my mom, and to know my mom's authentic self, not her real self. Because there's things that we don't know about people. In life, you're going to have to learn to live with mystery. With a relationship, you're going to have to learn to live with mystery. And with a relationship with God, more importantly, you're going to have to learn to live with the unknown. And so one of those things is, who really am I? Who is your authentic self? As I said, it means to be true to yourself despite the environment's pressure to be different. Being your real self, and you let that go out. You don't want to show your real self when you go to a movie theater with a friend. You don't want to show you, because you'll be talking all over the movie. You don't want to show your real self when you're at a job interview, because then you won't get the job. You don't want to show your real self in school, because then everybody will look at you different. And a lot of people have said, oh, just be your real self. Let yourself flow all over the painting. What they really mean is be authentic, because your real self starts to seek out pleasure when it really needs joy, because everyone's looking for joy but settle for pleasure. So once again, in order to be authentic, I would argue that the only way to be authentic is by having a relationship with God. If you don't have a relationship with God, then you're not authentic. Why? Well, just a story in the Bible of Zacchaeus. He's a tax collector, and one day when he heard Jesus Christ was coming, he ran to the tree, the nearest tree he could find in front of the crowd, because he couldn't see, he was a short man. And he climbed on top of the tree just to get a glimpse at Jesus. And what did Jesus do? He looked back at him, came over to him, and said, let me into your house. And so therefore, Zacchaeus took him into his house, and they sat down, they ate food, and he said, Jesus Christ, I will pay back everybody that I've conned 3 times as much, and I will change my life for you. This man is a tax collector. That's how he makes his money. But he also conned people. That was his real self. But because Christ saw him as more than what he thought, more than what people thought, he was able to break away from what he thought he was to who he knew he had to be. Same thing with us. Sometimes we're just waiting for someone else to see us as something more, and that's why we don't move forward with our life. Let this video be inspiration that you are more than what you say, more than what other people think. You're more than that. And if you weren't, God would have never gotten that cross in the first place. The reason I'm making this video, or any of these videos without editing, is because I realize that my real self is not who I want to be. And making these videos reminds me of somebody I know I should be. Authentic. I make an effort. And I'm not just going to go on here and just spit all over and say whatever. As you can tell, that I struggle with repeating myself, or sometimes filler words like ums, ahs, or stopping at weird times. And I also struggle with stuttering. But I took a step forward because God took a leap. God ran so I could walk. It says, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I walk with God. You walk with God. And He's your portion. You might not want to step out of that comfort zone, but there's little choice because where you're at is burning down. It might be comfortable and it might be toasty right now, but then you got to look around you and everything else is burning. Sometimes life is much bigger than yourself. And if God is your portion, that means that He is going to take the step forward so you can take yours. He's a voice for those who don't have one, so then now you can have a voice for those who don't have one. Let that be a reminder to you that you are capable of changing. And a little Miyamoto Musashi quote, if you want to become something new, you must be willing to sacrifice who you are. Sacrifice who you are. Why? Because Christ sacrificed who He was so that He could take upon our sin. And now I'm able to be a Gentile and have a relationship with God. And you're able to have a relationship with God as well. But now you have to realize, okay, I can't do it with the person I am. I'm going to do it with the person I want to be. That's why take baby steps. It takes time. The Bible says, any man that wishes to follow me must deny himself and pick up his cross daily. So to follow Him, you must deny yourself. And it's a daily journey, step by step by step. Becoming more and more of who God has chosen me to be, not who I decided. Because a lot of times when I decide things, I get them wrong. Like you put me on a math test, I decide this is the right answer, 2 + 2 = 5, and then you tell me it's 2 + 2 = 4, and I'll look at you, I'll say, man, should never pick me, because I get things wrong constantly. I'm not perfect. God knows that. If you look at my life, you know that. But because God has chosen me for a position, I'm not going to back down when He calls my name. So don't get to the point where you do too, because your real self is telling you that's not your position. Let your authentic self flow. And let this be a message that maybe you can apply into your life. God bless. I'll see you soon.